Hey guys, so somebody left me a comment asking me what my manifestation process is. How, if I wanted a pair of blue sparkly shoes, would I go about manifesting the blue sparkly shoes? And somebody commented back to this first commenter saying you would go to Amazon and search for them and buy them. And if you didn't have the money, you would save up and then you would buy them. And I was like, second commenter, you so get me. That's basically what my response to that particular example would be. I wouldn't overcomplicate, trying to manifest something that you can just go get. But I don't think that was the original commenter's point. And so I wanted to address the larger point, which is when you can't just go and get something because you know exactly where it is or whatever, how do you go about getting something like that? What if there's a time limit, stuff like that, for things? And I do have a very clear technique for this, and it works beautifully. I've talked about it on recent videos. I've probably talked about it all throughout this channel, but I'll tell you what it is. And then as I was deciding to make this video 30 seconds ago, I came up with 3 examples off the top of my head of how this has worked. I've talked about those on this channel too, but I will recount them again. And then we can discuss it. And by we, I mean I will talk to you on this video about it. So the technique for manifesting something for me is one, a sense of overall knowing. And this is something that you can practice. When you say, I know something's going to happen, and then you get that little pit, feeling in the pit of your stomach, like, no, it's not. You can absolutely practice talking to that thing and saying, get out of here. No, this is going to happen. And you can practice changing that feeling, through just sitting quietly and allowing it to dissipate and allowing that feeling of knowing to return or to begin. And I've also made other videos on this channel about the most magnificent way of putting this that I've ever heard, which is copying and pasting the feeling of certainty about something else onto the thing you're thinking about right now. So anyway, that's step 1, is having this sense of knowing about something. And then saying to yourself, I'm going to find this thing. I'm going to get this thing. I don't know how. Maybe you don't even know what it is. You just know you need something in a certain category. And you say, I'm not going to have to look hard for it. I'm not going to have to search. I'm just going to see it. I'm just going to find it. And then the third step is putting yourself, in my opinion, in a place where you'll see it. So if it's a thing, go shopping. If it's or anything, or go shop online, be on the internet somewhere where an ad can pop up that you see, or where somebody can be talking about it, or something like that. I don't know if that part's necessary, but that is absolutely what I do. So let me illustrate this technique with 3 little anecdotes. The first one is sort of a big deal. It is the first product that I ever sold when I was first ever starting to be an entrepreneur, selling stuff online. I said, okay, I don't know what it is that I'm going to sell, but I want to sell something like on eBay. And it's got to be something that I can find and have a steady supply of, obviously. I don't think I defined that for myself, but that was obvious. I wanted an ongoing business. So some of these things were baked in without me having to necessarily articulate it. But I was just like, I don't know what it is. So I went on eBay and I was looking around looking for stuff. I found something I thought was a good idea. I went out to start to pursue it, and I found something else. And that was the thing that worked. I stumbled on something else. One thing led to another. And that was the thing I ended up doing for a living for 3 or 4, maybe 5 years. Long time. It overlapped with the business that I currently run, which I started in 2012 in earnest. That's when it really became a thing and started to take off. So those 2 things overlapped for a while. And so that's my best example. I'll just, not to be so mysterious about it, I've just mentioned this here before. Other people probably know this that have been watching my channel. The idea that I had was putting together big bundles of kids' clothing so that you could just buy a big bundle of clothing and have a whole bunch of outfits for your little kid that doesn't like to shop. That was selling really well on eBay at the time. I thought that I could put those together from, you can find like brand new baby stuff in thrift stores. You can find sales. You can find all kinds of stuff like that. I was like, I bet I can do that. I bet I could do this enough to support myself, which is all I cared about at the time. And while I was out looking around for that stuff, I went to a garage sale. Somebody had a big load of books that I wasn't even thinking I want to sell these. I was thinking I want these because I like books. A whole bunch of Stephen King, like first editions, and they just gave them to me. And I ended up saying, well, why don't I try putting these online and seeing if anybody will buy these? And there was a huge market for that at the time. And then from there, it evolved to going to overstock sales and remnants. I think they're called remnants. I don't know. So, when big book companies have overstock, they will sell them. If you ever get a book and like a paperback book and it has a black slash on the top of the pages, that's an overstock. Was it a remnant? I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, so it evolved into that business, which was good for a while. And if I had known my now ex, who runs my current business with me, when I was running that business, it would have been fabulously successful. But running it by myself, I work better in a partnership. So that eventually did not work for me anymore, and I started the current thing I have. But so that was a great example. That's one of my best examples. One of the most impactful examples in my life was saying, I'm not going to have to look. And I remember very clearly having this thought and holding this thought. That's where this began. I'm not even going to have to look hard for it. I'm going to see it. And it was such a feeling of confidence. And I think part of that feeling of confidence was there because I had very recently read The Science of Getting Rich, and it really inflated my it put wind in the sails of my endeavors at that time. I really believed something was going to happen. I really believed I could do it. And, I feel like maybe I had a little bit of a freebie at that time, just sort of because everything kind of came together mentally for me. And so I went out and with the exact right mentality, and that's what happened. Found that product that made me hundreds of thousands of dollars over the following few years. So that's my biggest one and my oldest one that I can remember. But I have two more. I have another story that I've told here on another video way back in the day in 2020. My friend was very pregnant, and I was going to her birthday or some party for her, and I needed a gift for her. And I was sitting 10 feet from where I am right now, enjoying a Diet Pepsi in Panera. And I said, you know what? I got to get her something. I'm just going to go to like TJ Maxx. And they have a lot of blankets there. So if I don't see anything at TJ Maxx, like in the rest of the store that is like perfect, I'll just get her a really nice, big, soft blanket. Because she was short on stuff. She had just moved, and most of her stuff was still in California, where she came from. So I was like, well, what pregnant gal, what 41-year-old pregnant woman doesn't want a nice soft blanket to lay under on the couch while she naps? So I went to TJ Maxx, in the back of my mind thinking, okay, the blanket is the backup plan here, but I'm going to look all around and see if anything else good shows up. I'm not going to look hard for it, which I was looking hard for it a little bit at first. I was going in there with that attitude, consciously. I'm going to find the perfect thing, but I'm not going to look hard for it. But I was like looking around at stuff and kind of saying, where is it? And there was this really ugly frog figurine thing, and I was like, if only that were a sloth, that would be perfect, because there's like a sloth thing with my friend. And I was just like, man, why can't I just, where's the sloth thing? Where is the sloth thing? I looked all around, didn't find anything. Dejectedly, I walked over to the blanket section to get my plan B blanket backup plan. And there was a blanket with dorky, sort of baby themed sloths all over it. And I almost fell over. So that was the creepiest one for me. People hear that story and they're like, huh? What's the big deal? basically like my mind created an item in my immediate vicinity. That really freaked me out. That was one of the ones where it was so not general that it just creeped me out. Like, okay, I go out, I find a business idea, I'm pursuing another business idea, whatever, I find something. Okay. That's a manifestation. Manifestations are pretty freaky and awesome all on their own. But when you go and you're like, sloth, I can't find a sloth, I'm going to go for my plan B, and you find your plan B with your plan A all over it, it's just creepy. I don't know. That one really freaked me out. I don't know. I made a post about it on Reddit and people were like, wow, like sarcastically. And I was just like, listen, you weren't there. Okay. So, and then my third example of this, and this was really good because this was in a sort of a shit situation and it worked out really well. And I consciously applied this at the time, and it worked. I'm holding the item in my hand right now that it worked on also. During COVID lockdown, my friend Steve came to stay with me, and we decided to go hike around a forest preserve nearby here. And about halfway through, when we had already traipsed through, there was like a trail, that we were walking on, but there was this like huge field of brush and stuff. And for some reason, Steve wanted to go walk around in this field. It was like really muddy and wet and gross. And, I was like being like, yeah, I'm going to go along with it. So I was like, okay. And so we walked this field was enormous. And the landscape, if you remember, this was March, it was just like straw colored brush everywhere. It wasn't green and lush or anything. It was like desolate and gray and cream colored everything. And so we're walking all around this field. We get back to the trail. We walk for another, quarter of a mile. And I'm like, oh, I don't have my phone. I've lost my phone. This was like the first week of COVID lockdown. And I was like, oh my God, this is the worst possible time and place to lose a phone. And I don't even know if I can go get another one, or are the phone stores even going to be open? Can I even order it? Are there even going to be any available? I was just like, this is the worst thing that could have happened here. And my phone was only like 6 months old. So that made it even worse. I was like, no. Steve's like, I'm going to find it. I will find it. I'm going to find it. I'm going to retrace my steps. I know exactly where we were. We're going to find it. That was his attitude. And I was like, we are going to find it, but I'm going to calm down. I'm going to take a few deep breaths, and I am going to find it. I'm not even going to have to look hard for it. I'm not going to toil to find it. I am not going to scour the landscape. I am just going to see it. And so Steve and I retraced all of our steps. We looked everywhere. We didn't find it. I was getting to the point where I was like, you know what? This isn't that big of a deal. It's a fucking phone. Who cares? Excuse me. It's a phone. Who cares? And I was walking, out of this ginormous field full of brush, and I looked down. I stopped for some reason, like to turn around and look to see where Steve was. And when I turned back around, I looked down at my feet, and my phone was in between. It was like it had fallen into like a little brush bush, and it was on its side. It has a whitish, I think it had a pink, like a light pink, I don't know. It had a case on it that was exactly the same color as the brush, and it was sideways. Like the only way you would see it is if you were standing exactly where I was and looking down long enough for your eyes to focus and notice that something that was there wasn't brush. There was no way this thing would have been found, but it was. And it's that particular, that is a very concise directive. I'm going to find this thing. I'm not going to have to look really hard for it. I'm just going to see it. I'm going to see it. I'm going to see it. This is, I think, how you tune your amazing human brain to do stuff. Maybe this isn't so magical after all. Maybe it's just your brain. Maybe your brain is just miraculous and you're not using it correctly. So, this it's a specific feeling too. It's a very, if you're getting an A+ for doing it, you should feel very calm and relieved and, a positive expectancy over you when you're thinking this and when you're in this situation that you're looking for this thing or whatever, or you're just waiting for this thing to find you. But this works even, people are, I think in the manifestation community are like, well, what if I have this like emotion? What if I have this errant thought? What if, does this like poison the well? Does it negate the whole thing? No, of course not. Of course not. During that, when I lost my phone, I'm sure there were many moments where I was just like, fuck, or whatever. I wasn't like, I'm going to find it. No problem. No worries, Steve. I'm, whatever. I was just being myself, but trying to keep myself focused on this positive outcome that was going to happen. And, by that point also, that was 2020. By that point, I'd had plenty of these experiences to reflect on and say, I've found stuff before. Another thing that I manifested, which is kind of cool. I mean, by manifested, I mean it's in this car with me right now. So, it was just something I bought though. But I used to have the exact same car that I have now, and I have a car almost nobody has, and it's not made anymore. And so the parts and stuff for it, you can still get like mechanical parts, but if you want any sort of modification or any sort of replacement optional part, those aren't easy to find anymore. And for some reason, when I went to trade my old version of this car in for the new one, they didn't have the thing that you put in the trunk area that you can like pull and latch to block your view of the trunk. It's like a shade, it's like a blind that, you pull sideways or whatever. It hooks into my trunk and it covers the trunk. So when you close the hatch, you can't see what's in the trunk. They didn't have that in there for some reason. They took it out, and I couldn't find one for the longest time. And I was just like, I'm never going to find this. And then eventually I was like, why am I not doing this with this? Why am I not like manifesting it? I want this thing. And so I sort of just did that. I was like, okay, well, there's going to be one. I'll find it. I'm going to get one. And then I just forgot about it. And then the next time I went to look for one, there was one available on the eBay. So I have it now. And it's I don't know. I didn't see anywhere. There was nothing on any parts websites. No one had one on eBay. There's like 5 people in the United States that drive this car. If you try to buy this car used right now, there's like 20 in the whole country. So I don't know. That's not my most glowing example, which is why it wasn't one of the 3 I referenced. But that's another thing where I have it. I couldn't find it. Well, now I have it. That's my process for that. And it works. And feeling is the secret with all of this. We're all talking about this in words, and it's really all about your energy. I wish we knew more. I hate just saying things like that sound woo-woo new age, but it is about the energy that you're bringing to wherever you are. That has some kind of impact on this, obviously. So it's not just about thinking these thoughts. It's about sort of embodying these thoughts or generating the corresponding energy that goes with these ideas that seems to bring them about somehow, and if you think of the whole world as a big energy field and you're tapped into it and you're putting things into it, well, it could make logical sense. It could be an explanation that you put this consistent specific type of energy into your, into, I don't know, the field or whatever, and it actually connects with something and other people and other moving parts and moves it towards you. I don't know. The stuff with finding things, the sloth blanket's freaking weird. Finding my phone, I don't know, that could just be training a part of your brain that you don't really understand. Seeing the right business opportunity, kind of falling into that. I mean, this is basically the story of people's lives. This is, I don't know. It's not a lot more mystical than that. It's pretty freaking mystical as it is, though, if you think about it. If you don't have a bad attitude, what's happening here is pretty amazing. And the last thing I want to say for anybody who's not in a great like mental state, you know, you're focused on the wrong things. How your body plays into this is still kind of a mystery to me, because I've seen firsthand especially over the last like 18 months, how your gut biome really matters. Like, you know, what you eat really makes a difference in how you feel. And I don't know how that all plays into this. And I think a lot of people that are in a bad place mentally have a major physical component that they're missing, or maybe they know exactly what it is. You know, if you have some like thing that you know you're doing that is worsening your mental state, and instead of focusing on that, you focus on all the other stuff that's worsening your mental state, I think that's kind of nuts. You might be thinking, this thing I'm doing, you know, my smoking habit or my whatever, my incredible intake of sugar, yeah, that's probably a problem, but it's really this, you know, this other thing, and like, you know, I don't have this thing I want. It's like, no, it really, what's going on with your body really affects you mentally. And as an aside, somebody wrote me an email about PMS that I don't think I'm going to make a whole video about, but any woman who has experienced like some of the mental distortions that can happen due to chemical things in your body, like, you know this firsthand. Chemical things are real and affect everything about your perception. And so there's no reason, if you're in a bad way mentally, to assume that the physical component that you have going on is like the most minor aspect, and all of your other assessments of what's wrong or what's real. That being said, something to think about, I think, if you're in a bad place mentally, I was thinking about this morning, you know, I think a lot about the vastness of human history, or humanoid history, like the dawn of man, and just the sheer amount of time that has elapsed since the beginning. And how long, like just how long it's taken man to get from one thing to the next, to get from, say, being alive and reproducing and the species continuing, to learning how to make a fire. Google that. From making a fire to making a wheel. Google that. The amount of time it's incomprehensible. And the amount of change that has happened in this tiny period of time, even over like since I graduated from high school, like, we're coming up on the 30-year anniversary of that. Holy shit. The amount of change that's happened in the last 30 years is just mind-blowing, especially when you compare it to the basic things that man had to figure out how to do in the past, and how much time that took. And, you know, it's really difficult for me at this point to understand how everyone else is missing this. Like, I don't see almost anybody else walking around just mind blown constantly by all of this. Even if you never make a single thing out of yourself that you think is valuable, you're here right now witnessing some of the craziest shit that's ever happened. Like, just look around. Stop thinking about yourself for a while. Stop thinking about the things you don't have. Turn your focus to like what's going on. It's crazy here. Everything is crazy. The fact that you're alive during this period of time, if you don't believe that this is a simulation that you plugged yourself into, which I do, the fact that you're here right now, you have absolutely won some kind of massive lottery to be here experiencing, just even being able to, you know, observe what is happening on a year-to-year basis. It's just crazy. Shift your focus to that. Try it. Anyway, that is it for this video. And tomorrow morning, I'm gonna attempt to do the Maggie Murphy Manifestation Mailbag Monday Marathon. And this will probably get posted the day after that. So, but it is Sunday morning for me right now, and I am making this video because this is what I was thinking about. And I was looking at the comments and questions, and I decided to answer the sparkly shoes one. So anyway, I hope you have a great day, and I hope you got anything from this, and I hope that you can learn to implement my technique in some way or another. It is extremely valuable, and as you can see, it's for big things, it's for little dumb things, it's for emergencies. It is some sort of mental orientation that produces concrete results really fast. So good luck with that, and have a great day.